gospel to these kids, and then after that it was to feed them. Most of these kids would not eat unless they came to this church, and so that might be their only meal they receive all day. And so it was a really big deal just to be there and to love these kids. And these kids, even though the town it's smaller than what you would think like a huge urban town is, but there's so much need, and there's so much need for adults to be loving on kids, and almost all these kids come from broken homes, and some of the stories they'll share with you will probably bring a tear to your eye. And then the other group, which was the group I led, we were the Warriors, and the other group, yeah, this was our sign. We were kind of the odds and ends team, so we actually spent 2 days serving with a program called Energy Express, and what that was about was we would go and we'd hang out with kids for the first half of the day. We would help them to read, and we would also play games with them, get them active, get them somewhere that was fun, it was exciting, and we played a lot of non-competitive recreational activities. And then also at Energy Express, the main idea there was also to feed them a meal for many of the same reasons I just spoke about for the kids club. So we would do that for the first half of the day, and then the second half of the day, we would go to Greystone Retired Community, where we would get the opportunity to just minister to our seniors and just have conversations and just really just sit back and hear stories about what they've been through, and some of them were, I think some of our students' best times were just having an hour-long conversation with someone at Greystone. We also got to prepare dinner there a little bit. We got to shuck some corn, which is awesome. And then the second half of that, the Warriors, since we were the odds and ends group, we ended up leaving that, and we actually stayed in the school that we stayed at, and we did them a favor and painted their bathrooms bright blue. So that was pretty awesome, and then we also got to wash some windows. So that's kind of a short version of what we actually did while we're down there. And the students are going to get a little more in depth about what they actually experienced and what God really showed them while we're down there in West Virginia. So Kelly, you ready? Before we actually do that, we wanted to give you a taste of what YouthWorks is like. And so this might get you a little out of comfort zone, but we're going to be asking for some hands to be raised. We got Maya and Emily, they're going to lead us. And just to give you some context, we would do this every night at what was called Club. And Club was our time of worship, and we would get a lesson. And before we did all that, we would have the opportunity to raise our hands and tell with the group of about 70 kids what we'd experienced, what God has really done for us that day. So today, just to kind of get what we experienced, we thought we'd get you a little involved. What happens is, we can do an example. Maya, can you give us a yay God?
Yeah, so yay God for bringing us all here this morning.
So then we would all snap.
Yay God.
And we would say yay God. Yeah. So they're going to get a couple from the congregation. We'd really like to hear what you have to say about yay God for today.
Anyone? The yay God? Would you like to share? Yes.
Yay God for a beautiful sunrise.
Yay God for a beautiful sunrise. Yes. Anyone else?
Yay God for a great Sunday school class today.
Yes. Yay God.
Yay God for the choir today.
Yay God for the choir.
Yay God for you guys being homesick.
Yay God.
Yay God.
Yay God for Pastor Josh and Kelly. Yay God.
Yay God.
Yay God for our folks in Ethiopia. Yay God.
Yay God. Yay God.
One more.
Yay God for friends.
Yay God for friends. We'll take one more.
Yay God.
Yay God for guiding me to your
Yay God.
Yay God. Hey y'all. We had the most amazing trip. It exceeded all of my expectations. Each and every kid experienced God this week. And it was so cool to be able to see the change in them throughout the week, from the beginning of the week to the end of the week. The change is just amazing to see in them. And each one of them, I got to build such a better relationship with them than I had before, whether it was through late night conversations, late nights runs to Sheets, which was a restaurant we'd all go to, and between random dance parties in the hallway, and just the foot washing ceremony that we had the last day. We really grown into a family this week, and it was really awesome to be able to see how each one of the kids affected me in so many ways. They stretched me, inspired me, and it was just really amazing to see them step up in leadership abilities. And I just want to thank you guys for that. You guys have really discipled these kids and really helped these kids grow to be who they are. And I think that's so cool that you guys have to be a part of that. And so as they're sharing their stories, just remember that you guys are a part of that. Your financial support, your prayer support, none of this could have happened without you guys. And your snacks that we had too, it was so great. So thanks everyone for providing the snacks. We actually had so much that we had to share when we were there. So it was a real blessing. It was great. But each kid is going to come up and just share what God did with them this week. And I just encourage you guys to just come up to them and hear more stories at the end of the message. And just wrap your arms around them in love and just encourage them to continue growing. Have them not leave their gifts in West Virginia, but also serve here in Alpena. So, kids, do you want to come up and share?
Good morning. As many of you know, myself and 9 others were in Beckley, West Virginia this past week on a missions trip. Our trip was through an organization called YouthWorks. We stayed in an elementary school along with 3 other churches. We were divided into groups for our daily missions projects. Some groups did different things throughout the week, but my group did not. We helped run a kids club all week for children ages 5 to 11 at a church called the Heart of God. The program was 5 weeks long, and the week we were there was their last week. I went there expecting it to be like a week-long VBS type of thing, but I was completely wrong. The children were very challenging. There were multiple fights and even some used profanity. A lot of these children acted so much older than they truly were. Many of the kids came from backgrounds filled with brokenness. Some had been in situations they shouldn't have had to experience. It broke my heart realizing that. For some of the children, the lunch they served at the kids club was the only meal they ate that day. All of that made me more aware of the things that we take for granted each and every day. One thing I enjoyed the most about our trip was putting big smiles on the children's faces and giving them the love that they don't often or never receive. I grew incredibly close to some of the kids. I was very touched when a little girl named Zyneria asked me for my phone number so she could always be able to reach me. I always reminded the children that Jesus loved them. Some of the kids had no idea that it was true. They seemed very happy to know it. I even got to have a few deep conversations with some of the kids. A lot of the children were very curious about God and who He is or how to get to heaven. I gladly got to answer all of their questions. Despite where they came from or what they've been through, they have huge hearts. They would come up to me and give me hugs even before they knew me. In our morning devotions, I learned that God sees us as desirable, loved, and wanted, even when we may think the complete opposite. I tried letting them know that as much as possible. I definitely stepped out of my comfort zone a lot this week, but I was there to serve the Lord. I learned that when you serve God, you may have to do some hard things, but you also get something in return. I would like to thank everyone for the prayers and support, and also the snacks for the long car ride in the van. It was a blessing to know that so many people were praying for us.
Good morning. Good morning. So some of this is a little repetitive. Pastor Josh said a little bit of it, but I'm just going to go through it, so bear with me here. This past week, my half of the Huron Shores group served in a variety of ways. We helped a summer school program aimed at feeding kids who received little to no food at home and helping them read. We painted walls a bright baby blue and then promptly had to scrub the floors since we dumped a bunch of paint somehow on the ground. And we talked and formed relationships with countless people at an assisted living facility. Our whole group experienced awesome worship services, hit-home devotions, and crazy fellowship. Despite all of the chaos that seemed to be happening, I made some awesome personal, spiritual realizations with God and all that was happening around us. was actually helping me with these realizations. The week before the mission trip was when I really started thinking. I've always struggled with trusting God and not having fear of the future. That's something I've always wanted and longed for, but I haven't had the faith to do so. I began praying and really asking God to help me with this struggle. As the mission trip was nearing, I started feeling like I was finally giving more and more of myself up to God, realizing that I don't have control over some situations and I just need to rely on Him, and that God has a plan for me. Through all that I've experienced this last week, I've been able to see God working through me, which is definitely an amazing experience, by the way, and placing my worries, fears, and apprehensions on the sidelines. As the week concluded, I felt my fears ending also. I truly feel like I'm able to trust God wholly now. God gives us each strengths and weaknesses. In our weaknesses, we should rely on Him and turn to Him, and in our strengths, we should rejoice. Thank you all for your support of this trip. You helped not only me, but so many others in our group realize their strengths and realize their weaknesses also. On Thursday, our theme of the day was empowerment, and I definitely felt like I've been empowered over this trip, and thank you all for helping me realize
Good morning, I'm Kara, and I guess I'm also the one who got caught singing and dancing. Didn't know the video was on. Alrighty, so I was part of the kids club group, and which was basically, they already basically said what it was, but it was basically a safe haven for those kids who had problems at home. At first, when I got told that I was working with the kids club, I got really excited. I was like, oh my goodness, I get to work with cute little kids, and I'm so excited. My first day there, we walked in, and I was in complete shock. It was like complete chaos, the kids. Throughout the week, I had to break up fights between kids on my first day, and little teeny me, those were big kids. But I also just knew so much stuff. They just came from such a harsh environment. Kids had cigarette burns on their arms. Some of them didn't change their clothes all week. One of the little girls that I met, her name was Nene, and she just like instantly grew attached to me. This one day she pulled me off to the side and she's like, Kara, I want to talk to you. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, of course. And she shared with me and she goes, I don't have a mom. And I said, oh, I'm really sorry, like what happened to her? And she's like, well, I saw her got shot by her boyfriend and she was only 18 and I'm 18. And just to witness that was just horrible. And I had tears well up in my eyes as well as she did. And then I was like, well, what about your dad? And she lifted up her arm and she had cuts on her scars. And she goes, my dad did this to me. He doesn't come around anymore. And she just tears were in her eyes and she started crying. And I was just like, do you pray to God about it? And I'm like, you know that you're the most beautiful little girl. And tears just came out and she's like, no one has ever told me that before. So the next day we got bracelets from one of the people in the congregation and one of them had Jesus on it. And I gave it to her and I said, I want you to have this so that you know on the toughest days that Jesus is always with you. And at that moment, she wrapped her arms around me and hugged me, and she said, thank you so much. And she's like, I just love Jesus. So that was I've never been in a moment like that. A next kid that I met was DJ. And he was a little rascal. He was trying to teach me how to dookie and everything. But the first day, he raised his hand as someone who didn't know Jesus and had never felt the Holy Spirit. He didn't want to sing or dance in the worship, but by the last day, it was awesome to see him going up to the stage and dancing and singing to Jesus. I just realized that these kids have so much pain in their lives. But no matter what, their love for God is so strong. I'm jealous of the love that they have for Him. And it has taught me that even when I struggle in my life, there's no reason for me to give up on God.
last night was also my first day back to work, and it was so hard for me to return to this life. I work in a dining room, and where people complain about their food, and I just went back to a work where like those were their only meals a day. And it's truly sad how much people do not understand how blessed they are. I just miss it so much, and this week has been just life-changing. I mean, I've been sleeping on a blow-up mattress ever since I've returned, so I feel like it was in West Virginia. All right, thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Eli Irvin. I was the only boy except for on this trip, so it was definitely stepping out of my comfort zone. But I went to West Virginia thinking that I would get the chance to turn someone into a Christian, someone who wasn't a Christian into a Christian. And I never got the chance to do that. But it was cool because every day I would always step forward to do things. I would always volunteer for things, and I never really thought about it. And I got these compliments from some people, but I never really thought about some of the other people who were in our from the other states. I never really thought about the compliments they gave me. I just thought, yeah, I'm just serving God. And then it was Thursday night, and I had no idea what I was going to talk about today. And I was just getting ready for bed, and this one older gentleman, probably in his mid-40s, walked up to me. And he said, "Eli, you encourage me. You've just been volunteering for everything. You have such a positive attitude, and you encourage me to be a better Christian." And I never really thought about it that way. And for a grown man to walk up to me and tell me, he actually said that if I ever grow up, I want to be like you. And so I never really thought about it that way. But I realized on this trip that I'm not just helping I'm not just there to help people who aren't Christians become Christians. I'm also helping people who are Christians to become better Christians. And so that was my experience in West Virginia. And it was an awesome one.
Good morning. I was in Kelly's group who went to the kids club. The first night when I found out I was going to be working with kids, I was happy because it sounded better than what Pastor Josh was doing. And I was like, I hate reading. I do not want to read to these little kids. But then once I got thinking about it, I was still happy, but I wasn't as happy because I was thinking in 2 weeks I'm going to be doing pretty much the same exact thing for VBS. And I wanted something different than St. Louis because I was with kids, and I was afraid that I was going to compare them and go in expecting one thing and be totally shocked and not going with an open mind. On Monday, before we went to our church, the leader of it, Emily, told us what we would be doing, what to expect, and the rules. She told us that a lot of them come from broken families where the parents don't show the same support and love that most parents do, and they probably have not had very much discipline, and we will probably encounter fights and then how to take care of the fights. And some of the children are malnourished and have really bad backgrounds, such as Kara's story. And to add icing on that, there's 130 of those kids. And so, to say the least, I was extremely terrified to go there. I was like, okay, can I change my mind and go with Pastor Josh? But once we got there, it was better than what Emily had told us. Well, that was at least until lunch. At lunch, the kids were absolutely obnoxious, running all around, not listening to anyone unless you yelled at like the top of your lungs so they couldn't even hear you. And there were only 70 of them. After day 1, I just wanted 1:30 to come every day so we could leave, and I was dreading going back there so much. That night we talked about how we are all broken, nobody is better than anyone else, and we need to humble ourselves. On Tuesday when we got there, I was reading to the kids. What I did is I read a story, and then we, as we saw, asked some questions and stuff, and it was better than I was expecting going into it. After Tuesday, I thought that I would actually be able to handle the next 2 days with the kids. Tuesday night, we talked about how we all want to be pursued, and that we all want to be accepted and loved, which really made me think that the kids, that's all they really want, since they can't get it at home like they should be able to, and they have to go other places for it. Going into Wednesday, I felt very different about going there, and it was also the best day. We watched a movie in the morning, and then in the afternoon we played with the kids. And there was a group of kids that came up to me. They all wanted different things. They wanted me to play games with them, make bracelets. They wanted me to settle arguments with them, and then 2 of the girls wanted me to read to them. I kept kind of trying to push them off to the side. I was like, you guys, go let someone else to read to you. But then after I did that, they still kept bugging me, so I read to them. And the book that they picked was just like a summary of the Bible in like 10 to 20 pages. I kept asking them questions to try and keep them engaged because they were zoning off into other places. And then one of the questions I asked them struck a conversation about why Jesus died on the cross. And so I was able to plant some seeds into them, which was very rewarding in itself. On Thursday, I went to the pool and was able to interact with more kids. And there wasn't a second that I wasn't doing something with one of the kids. They were asking me to teach them how to swim, which then they wouldn't let me hold them in the water so they could swim. So it was difficult. And then they started trying to make me give them piggyback rides in the water. And then 3 of them would climb on me, and then more would try. So but through that experience, I was able to meet more kids. Even though I wasn't able to build a strong relationship with one certain kid as I was last year, I was able to have a relationship with multiple kids. The most important thing that I will take away from the trip to West Virginia is the importance in seeing the importance in everyone, and that we need to go out and serve people, even if it's just a small little thing, it'll mean the world to them. Lastly, I was not getting excited for VBS from the first day. I was fearing that our kids would be just as bad as the annoying little children running around. But now looking back, I feel like it has just helped prepare me for VBS. Your prayers were felt so many times throughout the week. Thank you for your financial and prayer support.
Hi. I'm going to talk a little bit about the people that we met. Okay. From the moment we got to our church where we were staying, it felt like we were being welcomed by family. They were immediately asking us, what can I do to help you? Noah, Emily, Allison, and Kevin were our directors for the week, so they were basically there to tell us what we were supposed to do for the week. The first day at our mission sites, I connected with 2 totally different people. A little girl at Energy Express and a woman at the senior home. Both of them reminded me of people that I love and miss so much. My little sister and my great-grandma. Both of who I don't get to see very much anymore. And connecting with both of them made me feel like I was being watched over, which helped me get through my week. Overall, this week helped me feel connected more than I have been in the recent past, and I'm very thankful for all your prayers and support. Thank you.